Summer school proposal for English language arts and mathematics, grades 3 through 8. Dr. Smith.
Yes, sir. In April, we brought to the board a proposal that would allow students in the district to test during the summer after they had received some remediation. This would be for students who were not proficient on the intergrade test in reading and math. We are bringing to you a revised proposal that will allow for one additional day of instruction for those students.
Do I hear a motion to accept that?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions?
Because that's not considered a retest, right?
We are not allowed to say the word retest, but, you know, it looks like a duck, it smells like a duck. I mean, it is a duck, but we can't say retest.
But it's just those children that were, what, twos?
So, yes, we are targeting students who are level 2 on the integrated assessment, and it is with parent permission only. So only those students who have parents who would like for their children to test again, but not retest.
Right.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved.
Thank you.
All right, next item, 2018-2019 proposed county budget request. Mary Hazel Small.
Yeah, I'm going to provide a brief introduction while she's coming up. We're going to be making our recommendation, which is for $2,800 per pupil and $3.696 in capital. This comes as a result of a lot of conversation with a lot of people. I've got to give credit to our county staff who we work with, our county commissioners, and you as a board for the work that went into getting us to this point. I think it really shows what happens when you work together. So I will ask Ms. Mary Hazel Small to give you a quick recap on our budget recommendation.
Thank you. Everybody's had trouble with it tonight, and I am included. Come on, just stand here. It's only 4 slides. Got it. Okay. So the first thing is just a reminder of what the budget goals that the board has been focused on during the process. How about that? The budget goals that we've been working towards in this process, the first being safety and security. First, we just want to state our continued support for the county's proposal to add 5 elementary SROs and 1 SRO detective, along with 3 new mental health therapists and 2 new nurses. Also included in our capital request to the county is for access control system upgrades at our high schools, and a safety audit is also included. The salary and benefit increases are the major dollar amount in the budget that we would be using the additional $100 per pupil to cover. Also, funding of technology replacements increased what we're requesting for capital outlay. And the other cost increases would be covered through budget savings. I guess that's what's on the second slide there. So first of all, the state estimated salary and benefit increases would be, the focus of the $100. We have significant savings from several items. One is the amounts that we were spending above and beyond the per pupil state and local for Virgo would be repurposed, as well as the state is now going to, over 4 years, fund our enhancement teachers that we were already partially funding with local money. So the first 16 of those positions that the state's given us next year is budget savings, and we're also in phase 2 of phasing out of our technology assistants. And so all that savings will be used to cover two new positions, technology director and assistant director of special ed, along with increased costs for utilities and maintenance, offsetting the state funding reduction for early colleges, where they're each going to receive a $20,000 reduction in their grant for next year, and then the funding will be set. So we've had a 2-year reduction. And then we had a significant amount that we needed to repurpose for charter school growth over the last 2 years that we've sort of been shoring up our budget as we had to transfer money to charter schools with fund balance. So we need to make that recurring. As Dr. Markley mentioned, the capital outlay request now totals $3,696,000 and includes the majority of the technology replacements, as well as the items we discussed at your last meeting. Finally, just sort of to recap the other changes, the things that aren't in here that we had discussed before, we took out anything related to salary and benefit that was not state mandated, because we had some extra local requests in there that we removed. We did keep in the speech and psychology supplement that you approved at your last meeting. I already mentioned the technology replacement. All priority 2 and 3 requests were removed. Most of those were expansion items. And most of the priority 1 expansion requests were removed. The remaining priority requests will be included, beyond those that I mentioned on the last page, will be included in a fund balance appropriation recommendation, which will leave the fund balance estimate at 6.1%. So and also my original estimates were savings from Virgo of about $500,000. I increased that to $620. We really won't know the exact number until we know the number of students leaving our system and moving to be enrolled in Virgo next year. So the last slide is just the summary, which is also in your appendix, and that is basically what we're asking you to approve tonight, which is a total county request, both for New Hanover County Schools, for Virgo, and as a lab school, and the charter school appropriation totaling $83,090,692 for an overall 7.5% increase. Any questions?
Okay. Do I hear a motion to adopt this budget?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Anybody have any questions?
I just wanted to ask one question, make sure I understand the, on the charter school
Yes, sir.
appropriation. Tell me if this is right, that on the 20th day, based upon the number of children from our system that are in a charter school, we send them the state and the county appropriation.
The state money goes directly to them. The county money comes to us and is distributed based on all of our 20th day enrollment. So whatever county appropriation we have, we look at our enrollment's 20th day and all the charter and now the lab school as a separate category, but it works the same way. We all will have the same, which is estimated at $2,800 per pupil. But if anybody's enrollment goes up or down, that could affect the amount they get.
Okay, but on the 20th day, and if I remember correctly, we don't send them, let's just say 100 of our children are over at Roger Bacon. We don't send them on the 25th day a check for those 100. We pay them monthly.
We do pay monthly. We actually start paying in July, and based on estimates, we sort of shore up after the 20th day the rate, but we continue to pay that rate for the remainder of the year, whether our enrollment changes or whether theirs does. And that was based on agreement that was made several years ago, because the state said you have to have a consistent way to determine enrollment, and that was the way we.
Not to my question yet.
Okay,
I'm
sorry.
getting there. I just want to make sure I
Thought you were.
understand. That's okay. No, I appreciate it. But this has bothered me since we discussed it.
Okay.
I'm like a dog with an old bone now. I'm ill because it's just not right. But on the 25th day, let's just say 50 of those children come back. Just a bad example, but let's just say 50. We continue to pay them for
sir.
those children, even though they came back to us.
Yep.
The charter school still receives money monthly.
Yes,
And that's just not right. There has to be some way, and can we pass a resolution, Mr. Higgins, and send it to the legislature?
I
And just,
assume we could pass a resolution asking the state legislature to,
well, I think we should,
at it.
because I think it's something that's just grossly unfair.
I will mention that this is something that's been discussed statewide, and we have been requested, we included in the legislative meeting that you had in March, but with throughout the state, counties have asked that we make that funding as consistent as possible, both the state and the local, sort of to break the funding cycle where it doesn't come through us to go to charters. It would just go directly to charters and come directly to us. So I don't know if that'll happen. It would take a state law change.
And I have no problem with if they're there, fine. We'll send them that money. But once they come back to us, then the money should come back to us immediately. I mean, it's just unfair the other way.
or at least quarterly.
Yeah.
I mean,
The only thing, and the only question I would have is, I understand that part, but sometimes there's another shoe. For example, for us that, public school students that decide to go private school in the middle of the semester or the second semester, do we, I just don't want to open that can of worms, because at some point, I think we actually probably would get per pupil funding based
Well,
on
a
those
private
kids.
school, we wouldn't be doing anything there, but a charter school, yeah, I mean, I would not be opposed to that. I mean, it's,
Right, I understand, but I can anticipate that a charter school is gonna say, well, the public school, you do the same thing with private schools, you know, when a student leaves in the middle of the year to go to private school. And I don't know what the numbers are. I imagine it's less than what a charter does.
Do we have many of those, Dr. Markley, that our kids that say 2 or 3 months down the road that would leave and go to a charter school and we don't pay them?
Well, you have to look at the way charter schools enroll. Most of the charter schools have a one single point entry for enrollment. They do their enrollment at one point in the year. We do ours as a public school, we're in and out. We have students who leave us to go to another county, but we also have kids who come back to us from another county. So what makes it unique with charter schools is they tend to have that one point of enrollment, and that's the only point on an annual basis. We're on a sort of a rolling enrollment. When you come in, we take you.
I think it's something we need to look at.
Yeah.
And that's really a discussion sort of outside the budget. Be happy to have that at a future board meeting to talk about that kind of a funding situation.
Mary Hazel, I have a question. I know you explained it, but it obviously didn't stick. I didn't get it. The charter school increase is more than 20%, if I'm looking at it right, than what it is in the current budget. I didn't understand why it was such a big increase.
Okay. Part of that is that you have two charter schools that are large that will be adding a grade next year, and these estimates came from them. So if for some reason their estimates are high, you know, it would fall out differently. But this is based on their estimated enrollment of students who live in New Hanover County that will be attending. So that is our best way to estimate. In the past, we've tried to estimate it based on the prior year, and we've come up short, which is why we had the other issue in the operating budget. So this year, we reached out to them and asked them to give us their projections, and that's what this is based on. So, but I would imagine the two schools that are growing the most are the ones that are adding, each of them adding a grade, so that makes sense.
Okay. What is the actual number for the fund balance? I know it's 6.1%.
I bet that's the one thing I didn't bring. Let me look. It's going to be in the $15 to $16 million amount, but I didn't bring it with me, and I'll send it to you.
It'll be in the $15 to $16 million range.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
But, yeah, that's.
Okay, I just
don't
can't
think
remember
it's
the exact
specific.
number. I
just
apologize.
about 16 million. All right, well, I want to say that I, for one, as chairman of the board, appreciated the fact that this year we were able to work with the county commissioners and to come to a amicable agreement, and we appreciate their willingness to work with us, and hopefully this will set a precedent for future year budget development. So, having said that, any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of the budget as proposed, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The budget is approved to be sent to the county.
Just process-wise now, this will go to the county for their approval. We still have the state budget, which will probably be approved sometime in the June timeframe. So that it won't change the amount on the state budget, but it may impact some of the other, if they give more in one area, it may allow us to go back and look at some of the priorities that we set aside.
All right, next item on the agenda, hard-to-fill position list, Appendix J, Dr. Welmers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We, as you know, every year we do a hard-to-fill position list, which would basically, when an employee applies through that, they get a one-to-one for their outside work experience. And we decided bus drivers ought to be on that list. Seems to make sense, so we're recommending we add bus drivers to that.
All right, well, let me get a motion, and we'll discuss that. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
We've already done it. We moved and approved.
Well, you didn't say it very loudly.
I'm sorry.
Now, you remember, I'm
I was
hard.
excited, but I guess I didn't say it loudly enough.
Okay, well, I have now a motion and a second. Now, bus drivers, this would be any kind of commercial driving experience or just bus driving?
So anything that would pertain to,
CDL?
right, to their CDL would be counted.
Okay. And you have a definition of what is a bus?
Well, it's not just a bus, it can also be a
No, I
large
mean,
truck.
what is, I mean, somebody could not, well, we'll take any I guess we'll take any bus drivers, but yeah,
If
okay.
they've seen a bus, we're gonna pick them up, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They've been down Carolina Beach Road, they've seen a bus.
That's- I talked to Ken in the hall today, we lost 2 more, yeah, that's where we're going.
I saw a Greyhound the other day.
I will take it.
All right. So you want to add bus drivers, okay. I have a
Please.
motion, I have a second. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is approved. All right, moving into new business. 2018-2019 Career Technical Education, State and Federal Funding, Appendix L. Dr. Smith.
Yes, would ask the board's approval for making application for career and technical funding. Essentially, this is our local planning process that outlines for the state what we plan to do to strategically use those funds. It also outlines how we plan to manage and ensure program compliance and compliance with all state, federal, and local requirements as well with the Career and Technical Education Grant. Also, in this appendix that's attached, it also outlines the programming that we make available to our students in both middle school and high school. In high school, we're offering currently 64 challenging competency-based high school courses, which are represented in 13 different career clusters. So we would ask the board's approval in making application for these funds for our students in our schools.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any major changes to this application from years past with the addition, especially with the addition of CTEC?
No,
So it's basically just kind of the same?
yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is approved.
Thank you.
Next item, MOU between Cape Fear Community College, North Carolina, New Hanover County Schools for the Ashley High School Marine Science Academy. Dr. Smith.
Yes, would ask the board's approval in the renewal of the MOU between Cape Fear Community College and New Hanover County Schools, which supports our Marine Science Academy at Ashley High School.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Have a second. Will this allow any expansion of the existing program?
So we are looking at ways to expand the program to include students at earlier grades so that we can build the capacity in the later years of the program. This specifically talks about when these children get on campus. So if the school determines as a part of the Marine Science Academy that it would be appropriate for 9th and 10th graders to be involved in Cape Fear, with Cape Fear Community College, then it would cover them as well.
Okay, good.
Dr. Markley, what are the expectations for this program? I mean, we look at some of the other programs that we have and, you know, they're successful. What's a goal?
When this program was originally brought forward, I was truly excited about the idea of students working at the marine science programs that are at UNCW and Cape Fear. If you've ever been to the Marine Science Center that's on Masonboro, it is a phenomenal center. These students can get some early college credit as well as some summer programming. I've always been concerned that from that real vision, it never got to the number that I thought it should get to. And so with a new director, I think we need to push it down to and start doing some pre-work in 9th grade, and that can build that program. I think a good specialty program at a high school should have a number somewhere between 70 and 100, because that allows you to have multiple classes, some good discussion. If it's so small, if it's in that 20 range, then that becomes hard to schedule for classes. You end up with some singletons, and it's not a good use of resources. So I'm hoping with the new director moving forward, that we can get that number closer to that 70 to 100 number.
Is it too specialized of a program, I mean, it sounds like a good program, but, you know, people going into oceanography or marine scientists are so specialized in terms of this.
Well, and that's one of the things I think they need to look at, is how to broaden that.
Right.
That marine science can be a really broad category. I think we focused and specialized too much in the initial program on the oceanography aspect. I think there are ways that we can expand that. And it may be that they decide they need to partner it with something else.
I know at Cape Fear, they do a lot of underwater surveying, and a lot of their people actually end up, now their people, meaning they're probably in their 20s, end up on doing work on oil rigs,
Right.
and also working for like Duke Energy, testing the water coming out of the nuclear plant to make sure it's not too hot. I mean, a lot of chemistry and stuff like that's also involved in it. So it's not just,
No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
And marine, and obviously UNCW has a great marine biology program, but I just want to make sure, you want these programs to succeed, whatever program you put in there. But you know, sometimes if you get too specialized, where you may succeed for, you know, 5 or
Right.
10 students in the program, but you don't accomplish what you're trying to do, which is to have a great specialty program like really we have at the other 3 high schools.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that at all. So they've got an opportunity to revamp this program and expand it. And
Well, right now, is it just 11th and 12th grade?
yes.
So they're thinking about expanding it down?
So yes, and they are also partnering with, to some degree, with the middle school. So there have been conversations in terms of recruiting 8th graders.
any additional questions or comments?
Just if, maybe at a later time, if we can get an update about the plan, you know, how many students are doing the UNCW pathway, how many students are doing the Cape Fear pathway, and kind of what they're choosing, that would be helpful information.
All right.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is approved. Next item is Dr. Smith, restart school calendar.
Yes, earlier this evening, you heard a presentation from both the principal of Freeman Elementary and Snipes Academy of Arts and Design. And in their presentation, they referenced calendar flexibility. And so we're bringing before you a calendar that reflects what was shared in their presentation. In this calendar, we are maintaining 180 instructional days for students. They're meeting the requirements set forth by the State Board of Education, but we're also building in explicitly staff development days so that we can ensure that teachers are getting the training to be able to support the needs of the students that they're serving. So we would ask the board's approval for the restart calendar.
Do I hear a motion to adopt the restart calendar?
So moved?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is approved. Next item, Gifted Advisory Council Annual Report, Appendix O. Dr. Smith.
Yes, thank you. And we do have some folks in the audience who would like to bring a word of greeting as well. But annually, we bring to the board a recommendation from the Gifted Advisory Council. We also share with the board the makeup and membership of the Gifted Advisory Council. You can see that on the very last page of the attachment. The recommendations that are being made this year are, one, to continue to fund a full-time AIG specialist at all of our elementary schools. We have found that to be very effective. And currently we have that funded at all of our elementary schools and middle schools. And at the high school, we have 2 specialists that are shared across the traditional high schools. The Gifted Advisory Council is asking the board to consider adding 2 additional gifted specialists because we recognize the work that our current folks do and the need to be able to expand that work. And then also a recommendation is for the board to continue its support of the work that's happening in gifted education in our district. And so with that said, I'll turn it over to these ladies.
Good evening. I'm Michelle Manis. I'm Gifted Advisory Chair Council, and with me tonight are members of our council as well as some of our liaisons. I'd like to, on behalf of the Gift Advisory Council, New Hanover County teachers, students, and families, I'd like to thank you for your support of gifted education. Your support with the funding of our gifted education specialists has impacted the education of 1,024 AIG identified elementary students, 1,101 identified middle school students, 1,491 identified high school students. Because of a specialist, students participated and won in competitions such as Science Olympiad, Science Fair, Math Counts, and Battle of the Books, just to name a few. Because of a specialist, students participated in extracurriculars like chess club, STEM club, and debate. Because of a specialist, students and families are aware of amazing summer opportunities such as camps, leadership academies, and governor's school, where this year 26 New Hanover County School students were invited to attend. Through nurturing lessons, each and every K-2 student is developing higher level thinking skills, skills necessary to tackle the rigor of today's core instruction. Because of a specialist, students participated in academies where community members partner with the gifted specialist to provide meaningful, real-world experiences for our students. Because of a specialist, our classroom teachers benefit from professional development and coaching to provide all learners the support they need to achieve. Our annual report outlines the work of the Gifted Advisory Council this year and our recommendations for the school board, but it cannot show the work of our gifted specialists or the impact on the achievement of our students. Thank you for our continued support.
Thank you.
And so that was for your information. Thank you, ladies.
All right, do I hear a motion to adopt the, oh, that was just for information?
Yes, sir.
Oh, it was under new business.
I know, I apologize for that.
All right, so we do not have to vote on that. All right, then I'll move on to the next thing. 2018 participate contracts, Dr. Smith.
Yes, I would ask the board's approval of the 2018-2019 participate contract, excuse me. It outlines those fees associated with our teachers that are currently teaching in our Immersion program at Gregory and providing those language services in both Mandarin and Spanish.
Move for approval. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Does anybody have any questions?
The Mandarin has, explain to me about the Mandarin just a second, about.
Yes, so when we transitioned from Forest Hills to Gregory, we wanted to be able to provide children with the option for a third language, because many of our children who had, who were in Spanish immersion were developing high levels of proficiency, and research shares, well, not says, but research shows that once children have developed proficiency in that, a high level of proficiency in that second language, it is much easier to learn a third. So we surveyed our parents, and their interest was in Mandarin. And so we make that available to our students who are in immersion. We also make it available to students at Williston, and we make it available to our students who are just receiving their initial Spanish instruction. So they do have access to Chinese.
It's not a separate program like the Spanish was, like in kindergarten, the flip-flop?
It's more like a language, a middle school, an additional middle school language program.
Okay.
Yes, but they have, it's the only middle school in the district that has it available to those students. And just from having communication with parents, the level of language acquisition that our students have had just in the short amount of time, which is 2 years, it has allowed them to communicate and understand at a fairly proficient level in Mandarin already.
Is it immersion?
It is not immersion, it is language instruction, but because
More like a
they,
traditional language course.
yes, but because they've experienced immersion, they do adapt very, very quickly. And it's very, very popular at Gregory.
And it's also one of the more popular electives for the students at Williston, because
Yes.
it's located in Gregory, so the students come over the little breezeway, and then
Does it attract both minority and majority students?
Yes, it is very attractive to all students.
So approval of this contract is not in addition to the budget, it's already in the budget, Mary Hazel, that we just supported? Is this contract
We
included?
anticipated your support, and yes, it's in the budget.
Very good.
I should have said Mary Hazel first. I'll do that. Sorry.
Dr. Mark, real quick, for the Immersion program, it's been at Gregory for 2 years now, is that right?
Correct.
When will we be able to see kind of some data of maybe some of the results of our specific immersion program? I know there's a lot of stuff out there that says, I think that.
We have data from, we can do a data presentation at any time. I would tell you those, our immersion students have traditionally, in general, done better, the students who are coming to immersion. We can do that.
So, yeah, we did share a little bit of information in, I think, a weekly board update that just talked about the level of language proficiency that our children are acquiring. So it compared, I want to say last year's fifth graders to fifth graders that were at Forest Hills. And we did see that our performance was on par and actually exceeded those students who were originally at Forest Hill in at least one area. But we surely can put together something that's looking not only at their EOGs, but also at their language acquisition.
Just so you're saying that by moving to the 50-50 model, the children that were in the old model in fifth grade did not do as well as the children that are in the new model?
So initially at Forest Hills, they started with 50-50. So kind of get my numbers right. More likely than not, that group of children were actually the ones who were initially introduced to the 50-50 model. But this year, at the end of this year, we can surely look at comparison of children who entered into the 90-10. And again, 90-10 is only for kindergarten and first. Once children are in second grade, it's 50-50 anyway throughout. So what the research has shown is that children level out and you don't see a difference in the two, but we surely can look specifically to our children, but it would be, if I'm correct in my years, it will be the current fifth grade class, not the ones that went to sixth grade next year, that would have started 90-10, excuse me, and we could then compare them to students who were prior to that who were 50-50. But both those groups would have started at Forest Hills.
Okay. And then if we also can look at the, I know immersion programs are exempt from the class size requirements. And my understanding is the reason why is because people, you don't ever add people to the immersion program. You take people away from the immersion program. If we can see some data on how many people have maybe withdrawn from the immersion program per grade.
Yes, we can do that as well. And we have added students. So say, for instance, if a child comes to us and they've had experience in immersion and it would be appropriate to place them, we do place them. And most of the children that we have lost, it's not been that we've removed them from immersion to put them into the traditional track. It's just simply that they've relocated or they've chosen to maybe possibly go to their home school. But we can pull that information.
Okay. And yes, yeah, information about where if you have information about where they went, that would be probably helpful too.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I would just say, as we're looking at, and I've said this in the past, when we return Blair to Porter's Neck, I would like to have a discussion with the board about expanding immersion to the north end of the county when when Porter's Neck opens up as its own school. I'd be interested in board thoughts on that particular program.
Any other thoughts or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It is approved.
Thank you.
Next item, 2018-2019 New Hanover County Title I application. Dr. Smith.
Yes. Would ask the board's approval so that the district may make application for Title I funding for the 2018-2019 school year.
Move approval.
Second.
All right. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It is approved.
Thank you.
Next item, disposal of surplus property, I assume is no longer needed. Ms. Small.
Thank you. I request the board's approval of this list of items to be disposed at an auction scheduled for May 19th. The items on this list have been determined that they're no longer useful for the school, necessary or desirable for school use.
Move for approval. Have to cite the regulation, Mr. Higgins.
Huh?
You have to cite the, Mr. Bullard, does he need to cite something?
She said it was no
I
longer
didn't-
usable.
Yes, but wasn't there?
The exact language is that the board should make a finding that it's no longer necessary or desirable for public school purposes.
That's what she said.
She did say all of it.
Close enough.
Okay.
Just want to make
Close.
sure we're legal.
Close enough for government work. All right, I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is approved. Next item, resolution authorizing electronic payments. Ms. Small.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention, we have been doing electronic payments, our e-payables, as well as P-card use for many years, but recently, the Local Government Commission came out with recommended procedures related to that, and part of those procedures were that the board would approve this resolution. So we have, all the recommended, the memo they sent gave us recommended ways to organize our program, and we meet all their guidelines. The only thing that they recommend that we do that we are not currently doing is bringing you a quarterly financial report that also includes encumbrances, including any encumbrances for P-card. So I have attached a report as of March 31st, and we'll begin bringing that to you every quarter.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Is approved. Certified personnel recommendation for one-year contracts, school year 18-19. Dr. Welmers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Request the board approve the personnel recommended for a one-year contract for next school year.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. Item J, Procurement Plan, Child Nutrition Program. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The procurement plan for child nutrition is provided to us by North Carolina Department of Public Instruction and is required for compliance with state and federal guidelines. The plan was recently updated. It is still consistent with board policy, specifically 4410 and 3410, and we're presenting it tonight for your approval.
Move for approval.
Have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. Next item, consideration of design consultant agreement for Noble Middle School renovation. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Noble Middle School renovations is a project that's included in the 2014 bond. The board had selected Bowman Murray Hemingway Architects at their meeting on November 7th. Since then, we have defined the scope of work, negotiated a fee, and tonight we're asking for the board's approval of the design consultant agreement in the amount of $482,565.
Move for approval.
Second.
You say second? Did I hear a second?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. Next item, consideration of design consultant agreement for Trask Middle School renovation. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. Trask Middle School renovations is also included in our 2014 bond program. The board selected Sawyer, Sherwood, and Associates on November 7th, and staff since then has negotiated a fee, and we're asking for approval of the design consultant agreement tonight in the amount of $737,000 or $737,223.
Move for approval.
Have a motion, or hear a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. Consideration of design consultant agreement for Wrightsville Beach Elementary School addition and renovation. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. This is the third design consultant agreement. This one is for Wrightsville Beach Elementary School additions and renovations. Also a 2014 bond project. The board had selected Sawyer Sherwood and Associates as the designer on November 7th. We have negotiated a fee and tonight asked the board to approve the design consultant agreement in the amount of $469,861.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. Next item, consideration of bids for New Hanover High School Brogdon Hall roof replacement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This project is also included in the 2014 bond program. The project includes replacement. This would be complete tear-off and replacement of roof sectors B1 through B15, which is Brogdon Hall at New Hanover High School, and includes the classroom building as well as the gym. The bids were received on March 29th, and we recommended award of the contract to AAR of North Carolina Incorporated in the amount of $875,450.
Move for approval.
Have a motion, here a second.
Second.
Have a second. Any questions or discussion?
How did that compare to what you had budgeted?
We actually expanded the scope of the project slightly, and with the budget amendment you approved earlier, the award is $875,000. The construction budget is $897,000. So we are within the project budget.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. Next item, consideration of bids for the International School at Gregory replacement. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. This is also a 2014 bond project. It's for the Gregory Historic Building. It includes replacement of sectors A1 through A7. Bids were received on March 29th of this year, and we recommend award of the contract to Allied Roofing Company Incorporated in the amount of $322,400.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion, a second. Any questions or discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
Does it make it any more complicated that the building is designated as historical? Is it designated, or do we just say that?
I'm not aware that there's actual historic designation. That's what we refer to it as, the new building and the historic building.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, hearing nothing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. Consideration of bids for Veterans Park, Ashley High School roof improvement. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This again was included in the 2014 bond program. The first two projects were complete tear-off and replacements. On this project, we're doing a recover, so we're replacing the cap sheet only. The school opened in 2001. This will extend the life of the original roof beyond the original 20-year warranty. So bids again were received on March 29th of this year, and we recommend award of the contract to Encompass Roofing and Waterproofing Incorporated in the amount of $724,477.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? I have a question. You said it will extend, okay, so that means right now the roof is about 17 years old. You said 2001.
Correct.
You said it will extend the life of the roof beyond the 20-year warranty. How far beyond the 20-year warranty do you think it's going to extend it for $700,000?
Well, as a minimum, we'll get at least 10 to 15 years.
Okay. All right, about what a roof would be anyway.
We have a 20-year warranty on our built-up roofs. And so this particular roof is actually in very good shape. We surveyed all of the roofs, and the only reason we're not doing this at some of the other schools is because the insulation under the roof membrane is wet and been compromised. But the roof at Veterans Park is in good shape, and we think recovering it is a viable option that'll extend its life.
All right, so to be clear, the roof itself is okay. It's the underlying membrane, like the roofing felt or whatever is underneath it that's bad?
Well, when you see built-up roofs, a lot of the roofs have a gravel cap or a gravel cover.
Okay.
At Veterans Park, there's actually, it's an asphalt cap sheet.
Okay.
And so we'll be tearing off and replacing the cap sheet. But the built-up roof is the insulation is in good shape underneath.
All right, so does this give us another 20 years from the time this roof is finished, or?
Well, it will extend the life of the roof.
Does it have a warranty on it, is what I'm asking?
I don't know. Do you know if Ms. Lawrence is here? I'll ask if she knows. Will you walk up to the podium, please?
Would you come up here, because I'm hard of hearing, and I didn't bring my hearing aid with me.
Mr. Higgins?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, with the replacement of that roof or that cap sheet that he's referred to, we'll be replacing it with a PVC single-ply membrane, and then the membrane does come with a warranty that is in the 15-year range.
15-year warranty?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sir?
Thank you.
All right, besides me, does anybody have any questions? No. All right, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is approved. Change order to see what is that? Contract management at risk.
Yes, sir.
Agreement for Myrtle Grove Middle School renovation. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The last item is a change order to the construction management at risk agreement for Myrtle Grove. You'll recall a change order in our CM at risk projects is the process utilized to finalize the GMP, or the guaranteed maximum price. The construction manager has gone through the process of bidding the project, has received all bids. The final scope of the project is consistent with the work that was proposed in the 2014 bond. Additionally, we've expanded that scope and recommend also replacement of electrical switchgear, kitchen exhaust hood, and treatment of the existing floor slab to receive new vinyl tile. So this change order, although the change order is in the amount of $340,286, it'll actually establish the guaranteed maximum price, or the GMP, at $7,357,421, and it'll authorize Monteith Construction Corporation to proceed with the project.
And how does that compare to budget?
Wait a minute, let me get a motion. Let me get a motion first. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right, I got a motion. Go ahead now.
And how does that compare with the budget,
We are within budget on this project as well.
even with the increase?
Yes, sir. There was we actually had a budget amendment, I think it was at the previous board meeting, where we wanted to expand the scope to add those items.
Let me ask you this also. This Myrtle Grove has been designed, you've got a construction manager, now you've got a budget, you're moving forward. The prior three projects, Noble, Trask, and Wrightsville Beach, we were approving design, right?
That's correct.
So when, I think I know this, I'm asking more for the public, but when would Noble, Trask, and Wrightsville Beach be completed?
Well, we will be coming to you this time next year to award those, to authorize the CM to start work on those projects. So we'll be bidding those early next year, and then we'll be coming to you early spring to finalize our GMP and authorize the contractor to proceed.
So it takes several months to complete the design.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And Ed, when you say next year, you're talking next school year, not next calendar year.
Well, I'm talking next calendar year, a year from today, 2019.
And the
'Cause we'll,
other question, Noble, Trask, and Wrightsville Beach, when do you project that would be finished with that project? Construction finished?
Noble, Trask, and Wrightsville Beach. Well, we're just getting ready to start Rolling Grice and Myrtle Grove, so they will be starting this summer and going through the 18-19 school year. Noble, Trask, and Wrightsville Beach are scheduled to begin 2 summers from now and go through the 19-20 school year.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is approved. All right. Next item on our agenda is correspondence. I just want to share with you, I did receive a thank you card from the Riley family that we sent flowers to. I have sent a copy to Tabitha. Tabitha's going to make a copy, and it will be in your Thursday packet. Any other correspondence? All right. Announcements. New Hanover County Board of Education will participate in Superintendent's Student Advisory Breakfast on Friday, May the 4th, which is, I guess, this Friday.
This Friday.
At 8 a.m. in the BOE Center here in this building. The New Hanover County Board of Education will participate in the Superintendent's New Hanover County Board of Education Art Appreciation Breakfast on Friday, May the 18th at 8:15 in the BOE Center. The New Hanover County Board of Education will attend the New Hanover County Retirement Banquet on Wednesday, May 30th at Ashley High School, 6:30?
6:30, John? Yes.
6:30, okay. The next regular meeting of New Hanover County Board of Education will be June the 5th, 2018 at 5:30 here in the BOE Center. I would remind you that we have 7 graduations coming up starting in May and into June that I'm sure the students would greatly appreciate as many board members as possible making themselves available for those graduations. I mean, I know it's a long day and a long event, but you know, that's part of what we expect our job is, so hopefully as many of us as you can will be there. Is there anything else to come before this board? Hearing nothing, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. We are adjourned.